Welcome to Immigration Quicktake. This is Duygu Erçman with the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Yesterday, President Trump signed an executive order that his administration claims will halt family separation. AILA President Anastasia Tonello is here with us to discuss what this means. Anastasia, thank you for joining us. So, what is in the executive order?
Thanks, Duygu. The executive order has three main sections. The first directs the Secretary of Defense to make facilities available to house immigrant families. The second directs the Attorney General to request modification of the Flores Settlement Agreement. And the third states that families will be put through an expedited process. And the tragedy here is that the executive order calls for an expansion of jailing children with their families as some sort of solution to family separation. And for years, we've spoken out against the inhumane practice of detaining families seeking asylum, first under the Obama administration and now under the Trump administration. The detention of families, parents, and children who pose no flight risk or danger to the community is simply inhumane and unacceptable. President Trump created this family separation crisis by implementing the zero tolerance policy, and which required the prosecution of illegal entry for every single person apprehended between ports of entry. He could end this crisis by stopping the zero tolerance policy and reinstating alternatives to detention that he eliminated.
Does the executive order actually end family separation?
So certain provisions of the executive order are extremely unclear and may result both in a massive expansion of detention of children and families and the separation of families. For example, the executive order says where appropriate and consistent with available resources, they may separate families. That's not a hard or bright line, which is concerning. The executive order also provides for separating families if there's a concern that the parent would pose a risk to the child's welfare. And detention in and of itself is harmful and has negative physical and emotional impact on children. It goes further to say that the government will be asking the court to amend the Flores Agreement so that it can jail children and families indefinitely for prolonged periods of time, both during the criminal and immigration aspects of the case. It also doesn't rule out the possibility that it will continue to separate families after jailing them together for a period of time. And finally, it does nothing for the 2,300 children who've already been separated from their families and provides no clear process to reunite them.
And what is most concerning to AILA in the executive order?
In addition to all the other concerning points, the fact that they want to fast-track family cases is very concerning. Families and their children must have meaningful access to justice, and they need time to prepare their cases and get legal help. Fast-tracking these cases would inevitably lead to a denial of due process. These facilities are hundreds of miles from towns, and access to counsel is already severely limited. So AILA is working with its partners, and in particular, the Justice Campaign is working now to ensure that attorneys and volunteers have access to the families once this policy is implemented so that we can ensure that they have access to counsel and their fair day in court.
Thank you, Anastasia. And for the rest of you, please stay tuned for more updates from the American Immigration Lawyers Association.